So I'm going to start the conversation remembering many, many years ago, 25 years now as a mining engineer working in this industry and pointing out and remembering the days at Corriente, which were my early time in Ecuador at the Mirador project, seeing that return that company got, and eventually went and sold for $690 million. I stayed on as chief engineer of that project and started the construction. So my perspective is a little bit different than just exploration. Obviously, lots of forward-looking statements. And I don't normally do this, but I feel like I can't help myself. The setup that we're going through today with silver once again over $31 an ounce, we see where gold is today. Normally, silver trails and then picks up and overtakes in terms of growth over gold. But there's a bigger thing going on. We have speculation and people saying where silver price is going to go tomorrow, what are the impacts, look what it did in the past, et cetera, et cetera. But there is a bigger story with silver, and that is the demand. And last year, 60% growth in silver demand by solar panels, which today is about 20% of all demand for silver. Solar is growing like crazy because it is easy and fast to get those energy projects into place. And we're becoming a world that is more and more dependent on electricity for the driver of our economies. And the anticipated deficit is about 1 billion ounces that has been accumulated, and that is equivalent to a world supply of silver. But there's not many silver mines. And so I get the question, how do you look at a silver project and evaluate what's a good one or not? And I can tell you that the list is actually very short of true primary silver development projects out there that actually have a resource. It is a very short list, so if you want to do your investigation, it doesn't take very, very long. But let's talk about Santa Ana and Outcrop Silver. Santa Ana is located in Colombia. It's one of the few silver districts that are in the world. They're actually very, very rare. Colombia at one time was the third largest producer of silver in colonial times for the Spanish Empire. And back in April of last year, we put out an initial resource of over 37 million ounces, which was one of the highest grade silver deposits in the world. 73% of that silver, the rest is gold. So no lead, no zinc, no other sulfides. And in April of this year, we restarted drilling on the project with a new focus, and quickly added a second drill with the focus of demonstrating how this resource can grow dramatically, like the story the way it's been going. Discovery holes on new vein system, on new veins, and then bang, hitting the ore chutes and trying to repeat that process. And most recently, we had the hit on Jimenez. So when I go back to talking about high-grade primary silver projects, and when you look at comparables, the list gets very, very, very short, right? So looking at resources with an indicated grade, you can see that Santa Ana on a silver alone, that's the blue line, is one of the highest grade deposits out there, and on an equivalent basis, definitely one of the highest. Grade is important. We'll talk more about why grade is important. But first, let's talk about the resource. Currently, the resource is comprised of about 6 different veins, but each one of those veins, every time we hit a vein, each time we find a vein, each time we find an ore chute, it's contributing significant ounces to the deposit. So the question then becomes, okay, we need more veins. But I would like to point out on the screen, which is the easiest to point out, up here in the northeast corner, you can see the green and orange lines. Those are the veins that are in the current resource. And you also see the majority of the little squiggly lines because the majority of the geological work have been done in those areas. But we overall, in our titled permitted claims currently, we have 17 kilometers of that overall trend permitted to drill. So we said, well, if we want to demonstrate how we're going to increase greatly this overall resource, we obviously have to get deeper into the trend, not just test new areas, but also generate more targets. So more work has been done in the Northeast, more work has to be done in the South. We have to test more areas and be able to demonstrate to market how this can grow. But I think it's pretty easy when you see 37 million ounces and about a third of the project up in the Northeast. We already hit at Aguilar, we hit at Jimenez. So we know that those are now targets that we can add additional resources, and we are now mobilizing all the way down to the south to our Mangos target. So following that pathway, we have as an existing resource, we have drilling targets this year. We're going to be drilling them. We're generating new targets to get them drill ready, and we're also generating new prospects to be able to show a pipeline and how we're going to get to see how this deposit can grow in leaps and bounds. This year is all about testing as many targets as possible. It's pretty simple. We are worth over $1 per ounce in the ground. So we need to find a way how to double or triple our resource size at much cheaper than $1 per ounce. So I'm a strong believer in where silver can go, but I want to be able to create value for my shareholders with the work that we do today based on the realities of today. So we're implementing the strategy, we're executing on it. We have 2 drills running. They're testing these targets. We've already made discoveries on both Aguilar and Jimenez, and building out that pathway. It's actually a very simple spreadsheet that we have. What's our success rate? What's the average width? What is the average grade? How much ounces do we think we can add? And what is the average cost? How can we do it for the least amount of meters? And I also like to point out, obviously, that as a core, when you see drill results over 1,000 grams per ton, that's what it looks like. The black is actually the sulfide mineralization that contains the silver. I won't go too much, but obviously it's important not just to hit the discovery, but also to show where are these ore shoots, where is the silver within these overall vein systems, and we're doing that. And now Aguilar, we're moving away from Aguilar. We know it's ready. We know where the silver is, and we know how to now resource drill it. But now, as a mining engineer, the things that also get me very excited about the project is not just one of the world's highest silver projects, primary silver projects in the world. It also has absolutely amazing mineralogy, because 88% of all the silver is a silver sulfide, which might not make a lot of difference to many people, but what happens is when you do flotation and we added gravity separation, we are getting 96% recovery of silver, and we're getting 98.5% recovery of gold. And on top of that, it's a very high-grade concentrate, right? We're seeing over ounces in gold, but we're also seeing 4,000 grams per ton in silver. Actually, when we showed this recently to one of the majors, they go, you could just smelt it directly and produce doré directly from your flotation and your gravity. And we've done it in laboratory. So you could produce doré. And why is that important? If I sell silver within a lead concentrate, I might only get paid 75%. Most people don't understand that. A precious metal concentrate gets a very high payable. Other groups said we could probably get you a payable even closer to doré with the material you have. But doré itself, you're going to get paid 98.99%. So I call it the trifecta. You have extremely high grade, extremely high recoveries, and a potentially very high payable. So you're maintaining that value throughout the production stream. And that gets me excited, because obviously the goal here is that this becomes a producing mine, especially in a time where there's lots of wind on the back and anticipated hurricane coming in terms of silver. We're also in one of the classic districts within Colombia. Some of the biggest mines in the world, some of the biggest mines in Colombia are in that area, some of those producing over 200,000 ounces of gold per year. And they are also a very similar system. They're narrow vein mining, very high grade, narrow mines. And that is exactly what we can do in Santa Ana. Right to the south of us is a 500 ton per day gold mine. So it's also an area that is custom and used to seeing mining. And we're taking everything that we've learned from the past. It's more than just ESG. It's more than that. It's actually getting down on the ground and creating true relationships, finding passion, engaging, and making the community part of your project. And I'll just go right to the results. We're seeing a huge political will on a national level, but we've aligned ourselves with the regional government to be part of their development plans. But the big one for me recently, this is after your visit, Jeff, it's very customary that all the little towns in Colombia, they all put the names, and that's where you take the photo, and it's in Instagram, and Falan is the closest town to us, and they have each one of the letters. And the letter L, and if you look closely there, the letter L, which has a geologist looking at core, and has the solar panel on it. And it represents the legacy of silver and the future of silver of Holland. So it's not about yes or no. It's about now they're part of the project, and it's a part of their source of pride. And so that's the type of result we look at, because those are the type of things you need to get projects from today to eventually become future mines, because these are long-term journeys. It's not something that you do at the very, very end. Talked about myself. Guillermo from Mexico understands these narrow high-grade veins, our VPX. Kathy, I tell everybody she's got more silver in her than any of us from Silver Corp and working in that industry so long. Ana Malena, one of our directors, is the president of Women in Mining at Columbia, used to be the executive vice president of Collective Mining. Joe, the original CEO who discovered the project and continues to guide us on the board. Eric Sprott is our cornerstone shareholder. We've been trading kind of in a band, but we've also noticed that we've been trading at a significant beta to silver price. So overall, we have an amazing deposit, an amazing pathway to create value independent of where we go. So I know that we can create value for our shareholders independent what happens to silver price. But I obviously believe, being one of the few primary silver projects in the world, that we are extremely leveraged to the future of silver, and we have a pathway to execute on that. Thank you.